One of the things you talk about in your book is reverse racism is racism.
Right, it's one of the chapters in the book. Yeah.
Correct. You said the modern race activists claim that the only remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination, directly flouts the legal prohibitions in the Civil Rights Act and the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. You also said something interesting in this chapter. Let me see where this part is. You said, by institutionalizing anti-white and anti-Asian racism, affirmative action also fosters a greater degree of anti-Black and anti-Hispanic racism. There's no better way to get someone to become a racist than to take something away from them on the basis of their own skin color.
Yeah. And it's really sad to see that happen. So I wrote my first book on this subject. It's my first book, but it included this subject several years ago. So Woke Inc. was that book. I published that about 4 years ago, okay? I wrote it 4 years ago, published it in 2021. I predicted in that book that a lot of these reverse racism policies, these anti-racist policies, would fuel a reactionary backlash of anti-Black racism in the country. I'm probably alone amongst most conservatives saying this, but I'm going to call it like I see it. I do think in the last year, we have seen a real uptick of racism. And I'm not talking about the anti-white, anti-Asian racism, though that exists too. I'm talking about anti-Black racism in the country in a way that I've never seen. I went to Springfield, I told you last week, okay? When I went to Springfield, there was a Black man who came up, he asked a question. He wasn't Haitian, he's just Black American, American-born for many generations. Comes to the mic and says, you know what? I could tell you on the number of instances I've actually encountered somebody being racist to my face in my entire life. In the first 30 years of my life, I could count on one hand or less. In the last 3 months, I've been called the N-word twice. And that didn't, you know what the saddest part of that is, Vlad? It didn't surprise me, right? We are seeing a reactionary wave of racism. And the reason is there is no better way to fuel racial animus than to take something else of value away from somebody else based on their skin color. And that's exactly what we've done with a lot of these affirmative act policies, some of them well-intentioned, but even good policies, even good and well-intentioned policies can be bad policies with bad outcomes. And I'm not saying this now as like I'm just inventing this after the fact. You can go look up my book from 4 years ago predicting exactly that man's experience in Springfield. That's exactly what we're seeing today, and it makes me sad because it's right when we are close to, I'm not saying it's perfect, but right when we got closest to reaching Martin Luther King's promised land. It's right then that we started adopting these most vigorous anti-racist policies that are refueling the very kind of racism that we thought we were in the fight to get over. And so I think the right answer is the best way to end discrimination on the basis of race, which I want to do, is to stop discriminating on the basis of race. I think we still have a chance to do it. I'm a little bit worried that we're pouring kerosene, especially in times where people are economically challenged and facing hardship. People tend to be prone to negative social emotions if their economic conditions are tough. I worry about where we are, but I don't think that we have lost our way permanently. It doesn't have to stay that way. I think it's important for us to have leaders at every level, from top to bottom and bottom to top, who are willing to say, you know what? We see our fellow citizen as that, our fellow American, regardless of their skin color, and we're going to achieve once and for all, not like I'm saying we have had it in the past, but once and for all, a true meritocracy where your skin color, whatever it is, isn't going to hold you back from getting a spot at a university, getting a job that you want to get, and that whatever your God-given potential is, you have the ability to achieve it in this country without any man or system standing in your way. That's the true American dream. And I think that we still can achieve it. But in some ways, it's sad that we've taken a step back because of these so-called anti-racist policies.
Yeah, I just feel that right now, the level of people being accused of racism is on a level that I've never seen in my entire life. You know, I had a situation earlier in the year where I went on Twitter, and this was during the whole Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef. Kendrick dropped a song, Not Like Us. It was a very, very early version of the song where it wasn't mixed very well. And later on, the engineer even said how, you know, Kendrick wanted me to just throw it out real quick and we fixed it up later on. I made a comment saying that the mixed quality of Kendrick's new song takes away from the impact of the song. I got a response from a female Black Princeton professor that said, you are white, this is a black discussion, you're not allowed to be included in this. I responded to her in shock and basically said, I can't believe that someone from Princeton is saying something that's so bigoted when you have students who are of, various races in your class, and I tagged Princeton and so forth. Now, at the time that I'm saying it, I'm thinking I'm debating with a Princeton professor. But the way this played out, as it went super viral and was on Reddit's front page and got tens of millions of impressions, was this white man is trying to get a black female professor fired. To me, I'm not thinking she's a black female. I'm thinking this is a Princeton professor who should be able to debate high-level concepts of people commenting on various pieces of art, regardless of what their skin color is. But it got played out as Vlad is a racist, and he's trying to get this black woman fired from her good job. Ultimately, I had to apologize. And I said, listen, I wasn't actually trying to get her fired. I didn't report her. I apologize for tagging her job in my responses and so forth. I was wrong for that because no one should get fired from their job based on a Twitter debate. But the fact that I was suddenly labeled as a racist when I'm speaking to a Princeton professor, one of the greatest universities in the world, really was a wake-up call about how I need to keep my mouth shut more often. And when it comes to race, anything that even comes close to the fringes of that is going to usually play out badly.
I think I love it. I love the way you describe that, including your charitable instinct to say that, okay, even if somebody says one bad thing on Twitter, we're making a mistake if we're making major life course changes for that person by judging them by their worst moment on the internet, which is, by the way, designed to pull the worst out of you.
Right.
I appreciate you having the mental space to do that while still being able to express your irritation and your disagreement with this individual. I think we need more of that, Grace. And I'm confident we can get there, but I think it is going to take all of us recognizing that have we been perfect in getting to where we are? No. But I think I said this last time you and I spoke, and I'm going to say it again now because it's important. I would still rather live in a country that has ideals and falls short of them than one that has no ideals at all. You can only be a hypocrite if you have ideals. And the United States of America wasn't founded on perfection, but we are founded on the pursuit of a more perfect union. That's one of the things that I hit in the last chapter of the book as well, is we would do well to actually study our own history, the actual history. We have a lot to be proud of in that history. It's about the pursuit of a more perfect union, and we're still part of that history now. It was Malcolm X who actually famously said, a nation without knowledge of its history is like a tree without roots. It is dead. Right? And I think that what I see in the country right now, I worry about that, because you see a generation, and probably most people, even of older generations, losing their appreciation for American history. And to understand where we are, we have to understand how we got to where we are, whether that's you in your individual life or whether that's a nation in its life. That's one of the things I try to do in this book, man, is to provide some of that perspective of history, both in my own personal journey, but our national journey, and understanding our present through the lens of the past. And I think that's going to be our best way of making clear-sighted decisions for the future. And, the book is called Truths for a reason. I think we get to truth through free speech and open debate. And that's the whole premise of this book. And I'm glad you and I were able to do this. I appreciate you bringing me on in the context of the book, because I don't just, as I said, want a bunch of standard Republican audiences to read this book and agree with me. I want to reach people who may have different thoughts. I mean, a lot of your audience may agree with me, but a lot of them may not. But my goal in writing this book was to write it and present it in a way that whether or not you agree with me, I hope you're still able to take something away from it that enriches the dinner table debates and conversations you're able to have. And so if your audience, does take the time to check out Truths, it's, I gotta say, I'm pleasantly surprised. It's been #1 on Amazon all week. It's the #1 bestseller on Amazon this week. So I'm not in this to sort of sell, and believe me, if you're asking about advice on making money, selling books is not the way to do it, okay? I promise you that. I promise you that is not the way to do it. But I am in this to spread the ideas, and so I would be immensely gratified if your audience, not only read the book, but gave you the feedback such that the next time you and I sit down, which I do hope is in person, third time's the charm, as we said, that you're able to challenge me with not only your reactions, but what some of your audience's reactions are to this book. And I think it's going to be conversations like that that help us get our country back.
Well, Vivek, always a pleasure when we sit down. And congratulations on, Truths being the #1 bestseller. I read through it. I don't agree with everything, which I've been vocal about. And that's fine. That's the whole purpose of creating pieces of content like this. It's supposed to create a certain level of debate and so forth. But I think you're able to actually back up all your points. And although we're not on the same page about everything, I respect your opinion. And, I definitely recommend all my viewers to go check out your book and come to their own conclusion.
I appreciate that, man. And I enjoyed our conversation for the same reason. And let's do it again.
Let's do it. Until next time.
Take
Peace.
care.